Hello, my name is Jacob, and this is Benedict Books. And today I'm going to be talking about um, the book that inspired me to actually start reading a few years back, and then also some other books that changed the way I look at life or inspired me to do things. This was originally going to be a shorter, like a short video that I was just going to upload as a short, and I thought it might be better to actually maybe expand it a little bit and make it into a longer form video. Um, so I'm gonna start out actually with the book that inspired me to really start reading and getting into the reading world. Um, and that book I have a fancy edition of because it is a very dear book to me. And it also is not only the book that inspired me to start reading, but it also is the book that when I was still trying to decide what I wanted to do as my in college, it actually led me to pick biology as my degree of choice. And so, I mean, a lot of life changing things came from this book. And I don't know if you guys can let me know in the comments if you had similar experience with a book or if I'm alone in that regard. But this book, I got the fancy edition, so obviously it's in this like book sleeve type thing, and it's an edition from the Folio Society. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like advertisements for that or something, but I got it as a gift actually, um, for one of my birthdays from somebody. I'm not somebody. My mom got me it, but anyways, this book is The Diversity of Life by Edward O. Wilson. And this is just, I love this edition. It's got bugs because he was an entomologist. Edward O. Wilson was the person who coined the term biodiversity that we hear used so casually today. That wouldn't exist without Edward O. Wilson, or at least somebody else would have maybe come across it, or we'd have a different term for it. But this is the book where he really expands on that diverse on it. I don't think this is the book. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I read it. I need to this is actually probably on my reread list for either this year or next year. Um, but either he coined the term, and it was either he wrote like this. He had this like convention where a bunch of the conservation scientists and biologists of the world got together, and it was this biodiversity conference. So I'm not sure if that's where the term originated or if it originated in this book. This book was published. Let me see if I can find the original publication date, even in this fancier copy. So it's saying 1992, but I feel like that's more recent than I remember. So I'll put in the description if that is the most recent. I mean, that is the oldest publication date of this book. But yeah, this inspired me to start reading. Inspired me to choose biology as my major in college. And I don't know. And it also really it inspired me to start writing as well. Um, the first chapter in here, he combines both nature writing and science writing with like a little like story like vignette of the jungle that he is in, which I wonder if I can find it. Oh, um, Amazon basin. Um, while he was on a research expedition there, and it was a very, I don't know, they just it made me want to start writing. I mean, I loved writing already a little bit, like I was already getting into it, um, but it showed me like a different way of writing that could be done, and it also showed me that you can write about things that are more scientific or more nature related, in a creative way. So he didn't just write factually like a lot of science and nature books tend to do. He also wrote in a way that was kind of beautiful in a sense. Like you wanted to keep reading. It pulled you in like any fiction story, even though it was nonfiction. Um, some other nonfiction authors that really excel at doing that are people like Eve Babbitt, Joan Didion, and John Green. Those are three off the top of my head that I've read recently that really also drag you into a nonfiction universe, but it feels like you're reading fiction. Um, Other science writers that do that is David Quammen. The Song of the Dodo is a beautiful book. I listened to that on audio actually while I was commuting to classes a few years back. Um, and then also, oh man, how am I forgetting his name right now? That's bad. It's one of my favorite authors, and I'm forgetting his name. I think I have some of his books laying around here somewhere. If I can just. Oh man. Yeah, I got one. John McPhee. How am I forgetting John McPhee? He's another one who does that. I'm going to keep this in the video just so you can all make fun of me forgetting one of my favorite authors. John McPhee is also a great author who writes nonfiction, but it feels like you're reading a fiction story, where it's like engrossing and it keeps you reading. He writes about a large range of topics. Basin and Range, I read. He wrote a book, Oranges, where he literally just talks about oranges and like orange juice and the orange industry. And I mean, there's something about that book I just couldn't put down. So you know from that he's got some writing chops. But anyways, this is The Diversity of Life by Edward O. Wilson. Probably the number one most influential book in my reading life, but also in my life in general. So definitely, if you haven't read this, I'd recommend checking it out. See if your library has it or something. But it has like cool illustrations in it and things like that. It's got some pictures in here. But really, it shows you like how vast the world is in a sense, and it also is like at the same time a call to action that we should be doing more to conserve the life because we don't realize how important it is to us. And I think it's just a beautiful thing, and this book is just beautiful writing in general, so definitely check this out. All right, so these ones are going to go a little quicker. That was the main content of this video, was that book. However, I want to talk about some books that just changed the way I see the world, and then also some books that actually influenced my writing or inspired me to start a new hobby or start to learn a new skill. So the first book in that regard is how it changed how I saw the world, and also another book that's by one of my favorite authors, and this is Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. So it's funny, I actually bought this copy after I read the book, from I think Goodwill I found it at, and I really wanted to have a copy myself, but I did read a copy from the library the first time I read this, and I wish I read it for the first time in a book that I own so I could mark the quotes and things down from it. But I guess it gives me an even better reason to reread it. This book just changed how I saw the world. And I don't know, it just reinforced the idea that war isn't good, and that I already something I already knew, but it gave like clear pictures on why you should be anti-war and things like that. So I don't know. This is a great book. It just changed the way I saw the world. I mean, there's not much else to say about it. I mean, a lot of you guys have probably also heard about this book or even read it. But if you haven't, this is a book I'd recommend to everyone. And I think the world would be a better place if every single person in the world read this book. Next, I've got two books at once. And these just changed the way I wrote poetry, basically. So I love writing poetry. I write a lot of poetry. I read a lot of poetry. And the two books, I guess the first book in that category is Nicanor Parra's Anti-Poems. And there's a reason why I picked this book up in the first place, which I'll get to with the next book, obviously. But this book is just, it shows you that you can write poetry. I don't know, both these books, to be honest, show you two different ways you can write poetry, and they're more like, they're still serious, I guess serious but casual ways is the best way of putting it. There's still serious poetry in both of these collections, but they're poetry that feels more homey, or like, I guess is the word to say it. So this book, I guess I should say, because I'm holding it up too, this is by Stuart Ross, and it's The Sky is a Sky in the Sky. And this is also just a poetry collection, but I got to hear him read the poetry, which also, it was an impact. He came to the college I studied at while I was studying there, and he did a poetry reading, some from this book, some from other books he published. And just seeing a poet read in that way showed me there's more to poetry than I thought, I guess. And that it doesn't have to be, I guess, quote unquote serious all the time, even if it is serious poetry. Like, he definitely wrote this as serious poetry. It's published by Coach House Books. This is a very famous Canadian publisher. And yeah, so this is by no means like, I guess, amateur, I don't know what to call it, poetry, but it's very serious poetry, but it's in a lighter tone, and it just feels good to read. I don't know, maybe there's an example I can read. Maybe I can read one of these poems. Let's see. What is this one? This one is actually decent one to read. He's got all of these are good in here. Maybe I can just read. Honestly, this is a longer video. Maybe I'll just read my favorite poem in this whole book. I just don't know if I'll do it justice. And this is actually a poem that actually, the first time I read it, made me emotional, which I've never had happen before with poetry. I've definitely had it happen before with books, but this poem itself was one that made me do the same. And this is titled Math and Science for Barry. I was 35 when Mom died at 66. 41 when Owen died at 46. A tiny Lowell, then still 41 when Dad died at 76. Now I'm 60, Barry, and you're gone. 4 days now at 69. For 19 years it was just us two. We talked on the phone one time a week, 988 times. Except 1 year when we said 0 to each other. So That's 936. If we saw each other one time a month, except for those 12 after we fought, that's 216 times we saw one another when it was just the two of us. And that is by Stuart Ross, Math and Science. And this is The Sky is the Sky in the Sky by him. And that just showed me a new way to write poetry. That was a beautiful poem. And yeah, these are two books. Just changed the way I write, changed the way I thought about writing. And then lastly, we have another one of my newer favorite authors that I discovered in 2025 actually. And this is Roberto Bolaños' The Savage Detectives. So this is also a book I picked up from the library. The library had a lot of good hitters for me over the times. But this book inspired me to start learning Spanish, actually. And not for anything that content-wise in the book, just that I want to read this book in Spanish one day when I reread it. I might reread it again in English. I probably will. I bought this book for that reason, to reread it again in English. But I also want to reread it in Spanish in its original language and see the differences there. That's a long stretch goal. If I read that, if I am good enough at Spanish 10 years from now, 5 years from now, whenever, that's when I'll read it. But yeah, this is just a great book. And I don't know. Is there any books that like made you want to learn a language, or made you want to, I guess, study something new, or start a new skill, start a new hobby? I just knocked my phone down. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you liked the books I showed you today. And also, I would definitely recommend checking out some science writing books or nature writing books if you don't. There's a lot more there. I know most people say to just read fiction. Fiction has everything you need. But I think science and nature writing has something that fiction doesn't have. And try to find books that are in those categories that are more like the Edward O. Wilson style books, or the David Quammen. Spillover is a book I'm interested in reading by David Quammen that I haven't read yet. Song of the Dodo is a great book. Look into John McPhee's Basin and Range and that collection of work. Look for stuff that feels more like a story, more story-driven, narrative-based science or nature writing, and I think you'll find something there that will benefit you just as much as fiction writing. And also read poetry. Poetry is great. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, and also subscribe if you enjoyed the video. New channel. I've only got like 1 subscriber so far. And also like the video if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. Thanks for watching. Take care, guys.